I get comments from people asking about my process and what nuggets I get from morning pages and how to keep going if you get to the third page and you don't know what to write, that kind of thing. So I thought what I'd do is I'd record myself writing my morning pages and then reflect on what I'd written to demonstrate what is my personal process and what I get out of it, and look out for the shock midweek and how that impacted morning pages. So I've been doing morning pages for a while now, and I've got a little ritual which seems to work for me. I come down, I let the dog out, give him his dinner, make myself a cup of coffee made with an AeroPress. I like boiling the water, I like the little ritual of it, and I have the coffee next to me while I'm writing my morning pages. I sip at it occasionally. I know the coffee won't interfere with my train of thought or the diverse thinking that I'm hoping to tap into, because the caffeine doesn't kick in for 20 minutes. And I don't mind pausing now and then to take a sip of coffee while I'm writing my morning pages. But making the coffee is the only thing I can do. If I go any further than that, if I decide to make myself a little bit of breakfast or something, I lose the raw edge that morning pages need. Okay, so I've made my coffee. I've got all my stuff ready. So let's go. This is morning pages on Monday, the 13th of January, 2025. So again, I start with, so what about today? And the first paragraph kind of covers the B-roll that I recorded of me making coffee, and I kind of did that. It just occurred to me in the spur of the moment that that would be useful to record. So I did it really without thinking. Quite pleased with myself that I've done that, and it's impromptu, and hopefully it works pretty well. I'm writing that I'm hoping that it's good, and that it's usable, and that it will demonstrate that I can do this stuff quickly if I need to. And I kind of do need to. And then I'm thinking about, I'm not going to be able to do my morning pages on Wednesday, I think, because I'm probably going to the office that day. But what I might do is record a bit of the journey to the office, maybe even a little bit of arriving at the office, if I can sort of make that. And that's just occurred to me right now. So that's how morning pages can feed your creativity right there. What I might do is record a sort of time lapse of the journey to the office and use that. So it's still creative. I think the thing is so Julia Cameron will say, you write this stuff every day, no matter what. And yeah, that's great if you've got, this is what I realise now, that's great if you've got the kind of lifestyle that allows you to do that. But most of us don't. Most of us have got other commitments, and we'll do it. It's important to do it when we can and not get stressed about the fact that we're not doing it when we can't do it, because that's life. That's all the people say. I've given myself a note to remember I must mention memberships. So there are 3 levels now. I'm going to mention them now, ladies and gentlemen. So the first one is just a supporting one. The next one is you're going to get videos with no mid-roll ads. Nobody likes to watch ads. YouTube Premium is great because you don't see any ads whatsoever. But if you don't want to spend, I think it's $12.99 or something like that for YouTube Premium, but you want to see, say, my videos without any mid-roll ads, there'll be ads at the beginning and the end, then there's a level for that which is reasonably priced, I think. And it won't spoil the flow of the video. And then there's another level where you'll get members-only exclusive videos, as well as all the other little perks. So we're getting to the end of this page now and moving on to page 2 for today. And here I'm thinking about equipment that I've bought in the past, such as the audio interface that I use to record things like this voiceover, and also the GoPro, which is what I've used to record all of this week's top-down morning pages videos. They seemed expensive when I bought them, and I didn't use them for a long time, and now I use them all the time. And it's like, it's one of those things where, was that written somehow? Was that sort of unconscious foresight on my part? I don't know. Because the audio interface that I use isn't perfect. There are simpler, more streamlined options, but it does a pretty good job, and it's also versatile in that I can take it other places and use it. In this paragraph now, I'm moving on to our daughter. I mentioned in the last video that she's had a wisdom tooth out, and I was dreading having mine out. She's had a terrible time this last week. I mean, it's real pain. I had to postpone my appointment from last Friday until the middle of February because I had such a bad cough and cold. There was no way I wanted to be coughing, and my wife and daughter were both saying, you don't want to feel like that when you've got to add a wisdom to do that. So I postponed my appointment. She's feeling better, which I'm really glad about because she was really uncomfortable. And I'm looking at this paragraph and I kind of can't read it. That's what happens sometimes. It's something about YouTube. I can't quite see what it says. But then there's a couple of lines in the margin. So what I'm saying there is in the first one is that, so what seems to be a lot of the people who watch my channel and leave comments are creative writers. They're writing novels, they're writing short stories, that kind of thing. And they may be interested in the channel because that's my background. So that's maybe they feel a connection. But I've made a note to also mention, because I want to re-record the channel trailer. So I've made a note to mention that this stuff is also really important for business people. It can work for anybody, because all you're doing is tapping into your unconscious mind. And then I'm wondering about repositioning. I repositioned my website to Urban Creative as a sort of branding agency studio kind of thing. Now I'm wondering whether that was the right decision and whether it would be better to move it back to a more personal website positioning type thing. So we come on to the final page. And what I've put then about that is, even as I write it now, it feels like the right thing to do. It was actually quite time consuming to shift it from what it was before, which was a kind of author focused website from when I felt like I was a writer, to the urban creative thing. But then I've put, and this is what Cristo, the Count of Monte Cristo, I've pointed out, I am the brand, and that's where we have to have confidence in ourselves and our unique abilities and positioning, and then just keep going. I've not felt great over the last month or so, health-wise and mentally. Bit of a turning point over the weekend, and it feels good to have motivation again and feel like I want to make YouTube work. I want to help as many people as possible. And I think I've set myself the goal of, it'd be nice to sort of earn enough from YouTube to upgrade my Mac to perhaps one of the new Mac Minis and a studio display, which is quite a target, but you've got to set yourself a target. So then I've ended on, just keep going, make your own sunshine, bring it on. Just keep going. That is the thing that crops up most. Make your own sunshine. That kind of comes from another video that I did a while ago, and it's like, make things happen for yourself. This is something I would say to young people. Life ain't going to come to you. You got to go and get what you want. And I think the young women seem to have that well in hand. The young men, not so much. Lads, you got to go and get what you want. So it's Tuesday. I go outside, let Dudley out. He can do his business. While he's doing that, I'll go into the studio, put the light on. More importantly, put the heater on. Fill his water bowl. Give him his dinner. That's his Maloxide for his arthritis. He's doing okay, but he's on borrowed time, to be honest, ladies and gentlemen. So fill his other water bowl, put some washing in, and then I'll make my coffee. And that's the routine. It's just a ritual that's kind of evolved. So let's get on with it. Okay, so these are morning pages for Tuesday. Start off again as usual. I check my watch there, check the date, write the date at the top of the page, as I do that every day and every evening when I'm doing my evening check-in. We start off with, so what about today? And already, looking at these morning pages this week, reflecting on them, highlights to me how things can vary from one day to the next. And, today I'm worried about work. I've lost sleep over work last night. Things are changing there, and I can already see that the workload's building, and because I want to do a good job, I don't want to disappoint anybody, but there is going to be a limit to what I can do. And I guess it's a learning process for all of us. One of the things I've put, I'm most concerned about being my own worst enemy and overworking myself, which is not going to be any good for anyone. What I also notice is odd is the contrast. I felt really confident yesterday evening about 6 o'clock. I don't know. I felt like I'd done a good day's work. I'd done some of my own stuff. It all felt good, and then I could have like a relaxing evening. So what caused the shift? And I can't put my finger on exactly what that is. And I've written that down here. What happened? I think maybe the effects of being ill over Christmas is lingering. I was very tired again yesterday evening. Went to bed early. It was probably not much past 9:30. And I don't mind that because I get to read a bit. But it also means, what should be a leisure time, your quality time, is compromised. You work to live, not live to work. So then, again, so what else? And I'm not sure, actually, what else is on my mind at this point. And I write that down. I don't know what else is on my mind. I guess YouTube. I'd love to see this do well. The video about morning pages that I published last week has been popular. And that's kind of inspired me to do this sort of journal and reflection and sort of give you insights into my morning pages process and what appears in my morning pages and that kind of thing. So I must think about getting some merchandise set up. Maybe I have to look into how you do that. And give myself some notes on doing these voiceovers for these videos. I don't have to be spot on. I don't have to cover every paragraph. And a bit further down the page, I come back to another work issue, which is storage of all the stuff I'm creating, which is proving to be a bit of an issue. I think maybe because of my creative mind, I'm kind of not the most organised person. I'm very immediate. So I've got lots of stuff all over the place and bits and scraps. And I need to sort of, maybe people would say, carve out some time to sort of manage all the detritus that gets left over. And I'm also worried about the dog. I mean, our dog now, he's 12 and a half. He's had a brilliant life, but he's coming to the end. Yeah, let's be realistic about it. He had got a bit of a growth on his nose about last September, and it's spread really fast, and there's not really anything the vets can do about it. It looks really sore and nasty. He's still happy, but there's going to come a point where we're going to need to make a decision. So yeah, I just hope he's not experiencing too much pain if he's in pain. So yeah, that's another concern. There we go. Another. So what else? Mostly it's work and relationships. I'm glad to see our daughter's improving. Her tooth is a lot better. She's been able to go back to work. And our son also, he's got a podcast, Second City Pod, which he does with his mate Callum. Check it out if you're into football. He does a podcast, Birmingham City and Aston Villa. My son is a Birmingham City fan and Callum is an Aston Villa fan, and they've got this podcast where they discuss the performances of their various teams, and it looks like he might have secured, I'm really proud of him, for an ex-manager to appear on the show as a guest. So that could be really good. So I'm hoping these things kind of come together and gets him the recognition that he deserves and craves. I'm looking forward to going to the theatre in February with Mrs. Sketchley. So we've got tickets to see Hamlet at the RSC in Stratford. It's one of our favourite things to do is go to Stratford. It's about 45 minutes away from here. We go a couple of 3 times a year, I guess. Every play we see is different. Last time we just gone to Stratford for the day, and we rocked up at the box office and said, have you got any tickets for this evening's performance? And they gave us good seats, tickets each, 25 quid, absolute bargain. And it was, I've got to say, it was one of the best Shakespeare productions we've ever seen. I can't remember what it was. Well, I'll probably have a copy of the programme in the house, so I'll put up a picture of that and you can have a look. And then I've ended on, what do I want? And these words just came out, and this was interesting to me as I was doing it. I've put independence, respect, results, creative output, to keep going and gain confidence, which kind of indicates an unconscious lack of confidence. Whereas, as I was saying yesterday evening, I felt very confident. Confusing. So yeah, I thought just keep going with conviction and honesty, and the rest will follow. Bring it on. And I think that's very true. That's all we can do. Just keep going with the conviction and confidence to be ourselves, and everything else will fall into place. And I think what a lot of us try and do, especially young people, we measure ourselves against others. We compare ourselves against others, and that is like one of the biggest mistakes. You get to 50 and you think, oh, just don't care anymore. And that's quite liberating. So anyway, just keep going with conviction, honesty, and the rest will follow. And I think that is good advice to myself that came from today's morning pages. So you know the routine by now. We've let the dog out, turned the heater on, made the coffee, all that jazz. So we'll just get on with morning pages on Wednesday. Okay, so here we go. It's Wednesday, 15th of January 25, and it's Take a quick glance at the watch, and it's 6:52 a.m. So I set the alarm a little earlier this morning just to make sure that I don't like to be disturbed when I'm doing these pages. That's the one thing that can really disrupt me. If I don't know, do I feel a bit stupid doing it? I don't know what it is, but that can really throw me off. Anyway, it's Wednesday the 15th, and it's 6:52. Let's go. So what's today? The first thing on my mind is the fact that our neighbours are moving on Thursday, and I really hope we get nice neighbours to replace them. They've been fantastic neighbours, and in the past we've had some really horrible neighbours. One woman, she used to phone about 9 o'clock at night and ask if we got any requests, and then play loud music until like 2 o'clock in the morning. And that went on until my wife sort of had enough and phoned the police, and they got involved, and eventually she shut up. But that's a really horrible thing, bad neighbours. Anyway, I'm wishing them the very best. They're lovely people. They're off pastures new, and I'm hoping the new people are just as quiet and invisible as they are. They're the best kind of neighbours to have. Neighbours you don't really see and really don't hear. Anyway, then I'm thinking about what I said yesterday about work and losing sleep over it. And then it was like, is it my mind? Is it the creative mind? But the catastrophizing that goes on. Our daughter's got a master's in psychology. I'm sure she'd be able to sort of tell us all about it. But everything that I was kind of really concerned about was okay in the end. I got the little bits and pieces that were going to be tricky done, and got myself some time back to focus on the stuff that I really needed to give some time to. So the thing about creative work, and I'm a content creator in my day job, is you have to give it some thought. You have to give it some space to get the divergent thinking. Utilize that divergent thinking. It's not something you can turn on and off, but it's something you can nurture. And yeah, you can have the results, but not sometimes, you need to give this stuff space. And the other thing I noticed is that how difficult it can be to maintain relationships when you're working remotely, and through written communication. There's a lot of positives to working remotely. For example, I get more done. I'm less stressed. I'm a lot less tired. But tomorrow I'm going to be in the office. I thought I was going to be in Wednesday this week. Turns out I'm going to be in Thursday. But the concerns I had yesterday are all gone. When you start recognizing that stuff, and you're going to start recognizing that stuff by writing it down in this way, you realize that you can start to identify when you're thinking that way, and recognize in turn that it's probably not that bad and not real, and you're kind of making it up. I'm talking about things getting back to normal after Christmas, and that me and my wife, who is a wonderful person, we've got to make some time to have some quality time, because life is just a bit of a treadmill, isn't it? You get up, you go to work, you come home, you sit on the settee, you sleep, and hopefully this year we'll get some time away in the van. As I said yesterday, we're going to RSC at Stratford next month. But yeah, it's an observation that we need to make time for our relationship. And then we come on to, I'm turning there to YouTube, which I'm enjoying. I'm actually, making this video this week has been quite hard work. Well, not hard work, but I've had to be organised. I've had to get out of bed, get this thing set up, and get the B-roll, and I've enjoyed doing it all. And hopefully the result will help people. And you'll see at a point here, there's a couple of lines in the margin I've put, and in capital letters, so that must be important. I've put, do more of the stuff you enjoy. Stuff that gets you away from the phone and feeds your mind. And I think that's a really important thing in the modern world. Do stuff that gets you away from the phone. That phone is poison, ladies and gentlemen. Use it in little bits and pieces, but if all you're doing is looking at your phone, there's something wrong. Then I've put, this is important. All work and no play makes Jack a very dull boy. And that's true, and that's an observation for me. So what I'm looking for later this year is the weather improving and getting back in the garden. I neglected the garden last year. I think I was just overworking, trying to do the wrong stuff. And gardening is one of those things that gets me away from the phone, is creative, has a positive result, and gives me some headspace. So I'm going to say, what else? Again, I'm glad that our daughter's tooth's improving. She's back to work. She seems to be doing fine. And that our son has something positive to focus on. He's secured this ex-Birmingham City Football Club manager for an interview on Thursday, and I'm hoping that goes really well for him. I'll come back to video again. Come back to YouTube. I'm pleased with how I feel this video is going, and that it's a longer one. So that's going to mean more opportunity. I'm going to put mid-roll ads in between each day of the week. I'll also put chapter markers in for each day of the week. And just a reminder at this point, there is a membership level. That means you will get all these videos with no mid-roll ads. And I'm also getting back into the routine of the evening check-in. I am coming to the end of both of my notebooks, both my sort of traveler's notebook that I use for my evening check-in and this B5 notebook that I'm writing in now. So I'm going to need a replacement. If you've got any suggestions for a B5 notebook you'd like me to check out, possibly review on the channel, I've come back to just keep going. And I'm in the office tomorrow. I'm looking forward to getting up and driving the van. And I like the lighter mornings, but I also do quite like getting up and going out in the van for the drive to work. It's about an hour and 15 minutes on a good day if there's no issues. I listen to a podcast. I enjoy driving the van. And as our daughter, the psychologist, master's young lady, pointed out very early on, it's nostalgic. It's like getting in the van to go to market with my dad. I really do enjoy driving the van. I mean, don't tell Greta Thunderbird, but it's a 2.5 TDI diesel, and I justify that by the fact that it's 25 years old, and I barely used a car for 25 years. And then I've put that I need to look at the merchandise thing for the channel, and I've had an idea for a logo, which I really like. It's simple. It kind of covers what we do here, and I put, don't overthink it. Keep it simple, stupid. And that's in capitals as well, so that must be important. And just keep going. And then I've put, just keep going and be your true, authentic self. And then I've put in brackets, whatever that means. What does that mean? To be your true, authentic self is like one of those phrases that the productivity blokes trot out, but they don't really tell you how to do it. Yeah, it's a nice phrase. It's a bit like the Pareto principle, like that 80-20 thing. It's a nice number, but it's actually just a number. Like 10,000 steps, it's just a nice number, made up, no scientific proof that 10,000 steps is actually any good for you. If you're out doing 10,000 steps with our dog now, that's not going to be as good for you as 10,000 brisk steps. Fact. Kind of glad I got that off my chest. But I've put, what does that mean? Just be Martin Sketchley and everything else will fall into place. You're unique. It's okay to be you. And I've put, it's okay to be me, because I have a bit of a thing about this, where we're writing to ourselves and we say, it's okay to be you. But that's like as if you're talking to someone else. So I try and spin it around. So I'm talking to myself. I'm telling myself. So there we are. Just keep going. Bring it on. I finished that at 7:06. So if I started at 6:52 and I finished at 7:06, that's about 15 minutes. I don't know. My maths isn't very good. So that's it for today. Look out for the time warp tomorrow. Let's do time warp, yeah. See, I'm no singer. You need my wife for a singer. So I knew I was going to the office on Thursday, and as I've said, when I go to the office, I can't write my morning pages because I get up and get out pretty early. And as it turned out, Thursday was a day I really could have done with doing my morning pages. On Wednesday evening, we had some shock news. So a friend of ours, Aaron, we had a phone call from him on Wednesday evening, and it turned out that one of our friends had died suddenly. These are the photos you're looking at now. He's the bass player. His name's Dave. He was 54 years old, had a heart attack suddenly last weekend, and died. And that was it. Game over, player one. And it's a shock. Dave was one of our contemporaries, and it puts things into perspective. It brings things home. It reminds you that you've got to look after yourself, all that stuff. So having received that news on Wednesday evening, Thursday morning was the morning it would have been really beneficial and interesting, if that's not too cold a word, to write morning pages and see what came out. But I couldn't do it, so I visited it in my evening check-in a little bit. It's not the same, and I've touched on it in today's morning pages on Friday, which is what you're seeing here. I mean, I've started off, my first 3 words are thinking about Dave, gone, one of my contemporaries. So I've covered that in the first paragraph. There's not too much, and I think the point is the moment's gone. And I think the key thing with morning pages is you need that immediacy. The longer you leave it after waking up and after an important event like that, maybe I should have just gone and written about it at the moment of the news and just poured onto the page what I was feeling and thinking. Then I've moved on. I was in the office on Thursday, and it was good. It was good to be there. Nice to be among the people and actually be in the room, work in the room with people during the day, have some interaction, some social, some banter, a bit of laughter. there's a lot of benefits from working from home, but we are social creatures and we do need that interaction. Then I've touched on, I had to go around the vets yesterday evening to get some painkillers for Dudley because we all noticed him. He was trembling, and he's done that before. When he was 2, he had pancreatitis, which is very painful, and he would just go in the garden and lie on the grass and lie there trembling in pain. We got him sorted out, but the trembling kind of sets alarm bells ringing for me because I don't want him to be in pain. I've come back to Dave on the second page, and a couple of times I've put "so what else?" because I'm not really sure where these pages are going. An important sentence is that I've put, I think I'm in a good place. I'm really enjoying this YouTube video, and the fact that the numbers seem to be rising. Well, the numbers are rising gradually. The trend is upward. I'm getting more subscribers. If you're finding this video useful, please do consider subscribing and sharing and commenting, because all that stuff, it not only helps the channel, which is what most YouTubers say, it helps the channel, it actually helps me. It's a personal validation that what I'm doing and the things I'm sharing are useful to people. And that's the main reason I do it. It would be nice to earn money from it, but if I can help people with this stuff, that is more important. I get some really lovely comments from people saying how it's helped some of these exercises and me sharing what I do. If it helps you, please do comment, share it with someone you think it might help. Anyway, enough of that. And then an interesting thing I've put, I wonder how my wife feels about Dave's death. I knew him for a lot longer than she did and a lot more than she did, but we were all in a band together for a couple of years. So I've ended the third page with just a bit of self-affirmation, saying who I am, what I'm doing, and an observation that I've made. I've put, funny how this is the kind of writing that is most important to me now. And that's an interesting observation because I spent so long, many thousands of hours writing short stories and novels. I had novels published and script writing and stuff like that, working with producers at the BBC. And I used morning pages in a couple of short stories later on, but never in the earlier work. I don't really do that kind of thing anymore. But this writing, morning pages, the journaling, the brain dump, the processing of thoughts and feelings, this is most important. And then I've gone on to just keep going, put in the time, make the effort, get up, get out, get real. I'm not actually sure what I mean by the get real bit. And I've put, just be the best version of yourself. And that is another phrase trotted out by people on the internet. And what does that actually mean? Be the best version of yourself. I'm not sure. If you've got any idea what the phrase "be the best version of yourself" means, let me know in the comments. And I've put, it'll all come together. I started these morning pages at 7:03. I finished them at 7:17. So that's less than 15 minutes. 3 sides of B5. So I am practiced. I've been writing a long time. I am used to getting my thoughts out in writing. And I know a lot of people find this difficult. The point here is, it's taken me less than 15 minutes to do this. So if you want to, give it a go. Just give it a go. And I would say as well, I would point out that I've ended at the top there with, wasn't sure what to write here, but just kept going. And this echoes a comment that someone left the other day saying, what if you get to the third page and you just don't know what to write? And I said, just go with self-affirmation. Write who you are, what you're doing, where you want to go, where you want to be. And just see what comes out. And this is the thing. Don't think, feel, and write that down. So that was my morning pages for this week. It was interesting to look back on them, even though Julia Cameron kind of says you shouldn't do that. I think you do what works for you is the thing. It was interesting, when Dave died, that I couldn't process my thoughts and feelings that morning. I think it would have been really beneficial to do so. I think there would have been a lot more than just the paragraph that came out on Friday morning. I am coming to the end of this notebook, and I haven't got a replacement for morning pages. So if there's one you'd suggest, you'd like me to try and maybe review on the channel, then do let me know in the comments.